Welcome to CPG Vibes. No scripts,
just chat.
I'm Alex Baer.
And I'm Wade Yenny.
Each episode is recorded live, and we talk all things food and beverage, and so much more.
Feel our vibe and search for CPG Vibes on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and make sure to give us a 5-star review.
If you'd like to sponsor our show with your product or service, email us at cpgvibes100@gmail.com.
Now, let's vibe.
All right, welcome to episode 167 of CPG Vibes. This is our second edition or volume of the Random Babble Series. And strap in, folks. It's going to get really random. We're on a Friday. We're feeling good. It's going to be a long weekend. Happy early Memorial Day weekend. Thank you to all the soldiers, everyone around the country that has fought for us in the past, are fighting for us now, and also protecting our country. We send our love and appreciation out to you, and glad that we're going to be celebrating them this Monday. So, but Wade, how are you?
I'm doing good. It's been a great week. Had some great news for some clients today. Had a great coffee session with my buddy Hugh and Andy this morning.
Saw that picture.
Yep. It's been a very, very good week. So ready for a long weekend, and just excited. The weather's looking good. Mid-70s, sunny. Life's good, Alex.
Definitely. No, we have a lot to be grateful for. And if I don't know myself, I'm definitely reminded when Mark Samuel posts about his gratitude, and I'm like, you know what? He's right. There's a lot to be grateful for. Family, friends. We're in a great industry. You have a great company that you work with. I have a lot of great clients that I work with. So yeah, life is definitely very good, and there's a lot to be happy about here. And I'm really working on that to focus more on the positive, right? Versus just, this went wrong, right? Or there's a fire here I got to put out. Damn it. And then when I'm in that, when you're in the middle of it, right? Putting out the fire or figuring something out, or there's an issue, whether it's personal or business, it's really, it's hard, but you can do it. You can take a step back and go, wow, I have a lot of things that are going right. There's one thing that's going wrong. Let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the 10 things or 20 things that are amazing and going right in our lives. So I think that attitude and mentality really helps in the long run. And I'm doing that more because in the past, not that I'm pessimistic, and this gets into, it's already random babble right now, but in the past, fixating on problems really doesn't help you. It only causes more problems, right?
Right. Well, it's okay to talk through problems but fixating on them and getting into that negative and that as Luke, who I think he's driving right now. So Luke, be careful texting and driving, by the way. But the drama triangle and all those things, you just get sucked into this vortex of stuff that you don't need to be in. So that's it's just kind of great to try and keep staying on focused. Luke challenged me a little bit this week with posting. I've been a little bit lax on posting on LinkedIn, so I've tried to pick that up a little bit. And focusing on my morning reflections on my walk. I do a morning walk. This is a 3.5 mile loop by my house, and the things that I see and hear and listen to and think about on those walks. So I've started a little bit of a ongoing post series with regards to those, and trying to wrap that in a little bit. So there's a lot of positive out there, and rather than focusing on that negative, we can't ignore the negative, but we certainly don't have to focus on it. So
exactly. And I really loved your post with like the 3 deers that are looking over at you. It was really it's just it's a cool reflective type post that it's like in the morning, you start to write, you have your morning regimen, routine, morning magic, whatever you call it, to help relax you and get you kind of transition you into the day in a very light and calming way. And so I have the beach about a mile from me. I rarely actually go there, but doing a morning walk really makes a big difference. Turn on your favorite podcasts, especially if it's CPG Vibes, plug, and just enjoy it. And there's a guy named Drew Henry who has a company called Revival Tea. You've probably seen posts about him. And he was my client he raised on WeFunder, our Genius Dreams client, and he raised about $550,000 think 570,000. And he made a post about burnout, which we talk about sometimes on the show. We had a special edition episode around burnout. And he went through it so badly that he would be face down on the floor at night. Couldn't even, play with his son, Declan. Could barely even talk to his wife. Just face down because all day he was giving everything he could to the business, production, manufacturing, finance, sales, everything, traveling. And so he decided to make a change about a year and a half ago. And he talks about this publicly. So I can talk about it here publicly that, going to therapy, having a morning routine. And there's a book, which I don't know if it's on my, there it is. It's right there. The Miracle Morning. It's right there on my shelf. I read about 3/4 of it. I'm not all the way through it. I kind of took a break from it. A great book called Miracle Morning, talking about to have a morning regimen called SAVERS. That's the acronym, not to get into too many details. And it stands for, it's testing me, but there's silence, affirmation, visualization. The E is exercise. The R, I think, is reflection. And then the S at the end of Savers is scribing or writing. You do all those things, and it's amazing when you do those things and you take time for yourself in the morning. I know Luke Abbott's also very big on this as well as you are, that you feel better throughout the day. You feel more present, you get more done, and you're just in a better mood overall, and you handle problems better. So all these things just come together when you have a morning routine. So I'm a big fan of that. So he went through that for about a year and a half, went through therapy, and the differences are monumental that he's been through, and he feels like such a better family person, a better friend. He feels more love every day, feels more presence, and he also is a better businessman on top of all that. So his business is personal. So anyway, morning routines, they're big.
Love that. I love that. Yeah, it's for me, you're exactly right. I typically wake up and share a morning coffee or energy drink in my case with my wife, and I'm checking email on my phone a little bit or what have you. But then she has her routine that she goes and does, and I have mine that I go and do, and it helps me. I'm already kind of in the work mindset because I'm looking at the email on the phone and kind of looking to see what's upcoming and whatnot, and then during that walk, it kind of everything starts to boil up, whether it's focusing on work and in the case of yesterday's walk, and that was a true picture. Those 3 deer were right there, didn't move an inch, just let me walk right past them, and it's just it was very, very peaceful, and it's very common. I've got a lot of inspiration just on what I'm seeing, whether it's nature, whether it's these animals or just people I encounter. There's a lot forthcoming as far as that goes, but yeah, it's important. That routine is very important.
Yeah, and definitely, and some great comments here, from Luke, who again I know is big on scribing or writing for the layman. It's so important to journal daily, especially in the morning. And I did that, um, for a while. I know this is kind of far away. I don't want people to actually see it, but I did it for a while, starting in January, and I have maybe about 30 or 40 entries, but then I fell off, and that happens, right? And so I think one thing to learn is that with morning routines or routines in general, you're going to fall off at some point, but you just have to get right back on that horse and be present that, okay, I fell off, life got busy, I got tired, I got sick, I had to tend to someone else or take care of, or, in many people's cases, family things come up, with the wife, husband, or with kids or a kid, and you get busy. But then you can always come right back to that and center yourself again, because you want the best version of it. We have we're the same person, right? But you have different versions of yourself depending on how you feel. If you're tired, if you're not present, if you're upset, angry, not grateful, or grateful, you want the best version of yourself to show up every day. And it takes discipline. It takes rigidity and discipline. Not that you have to be completely rigid on every single minute of the day, because that's just too intense in my opinion. But have a disciplinary actions every single day that you commit yourself to, and I call them a non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. If I don't do this, I don't show up as the best person as my best version every single day. So I need to do this. And yes, that phone call can wait. That email can wait. Checking my phone can wait because this is important. Now, easier said than done. I will say that with a disclaimer because everyone breaks that and goes, "Oh, I need to check this email. I need to get this done." If we're obsessive sometimes because we want to get something done in business and we work really hard. But the more that you can discipline yourself to not give into that temptation of checking the phone when you first wake up, or checking your email, or constantly checking your email, or having to call someone back right away, and you make time for yourself with non-negotiables, you're going to show up as a better person and have a much better day and just be better all overall, personally and professionally.
Yeah, and I think Kenny, I love what he just put here, and we have some great comments coming in here. But Kenny says for routines, I have an A, B, and C routine. A is the optimal routine, all the things I want to do. B is moderate, most of the things I want to do, and C, non-negotiables, the must-do things. I love that, and I think I give my wife this sometimes because she has this morning routine that she does, and typically she's maniacal when it comes to her going to the gym, and she wants to run X amount, and then she wants to walk X amount, she wants to lift this and this, and I don't criticize that part. And I'm not criticizing her at all. What I suggest to her, every morning when she leaves, I say, don't hurt yourself, because there's days when, quite frankly, your body can't perform at what you think is, in Kenny's point here, is the non-negotiables, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every day it doesn't have to be non-negotiable. Maybe working out as a whole is non-negotiable, but it doesn't have to be this strict regimented, I'm going to run X, walk Y, and lift Z. Maybe your body's telling you need to just walk today, right? Or you need to just take a day off, and
Mm-hmm.
not allowing yourself to have that. I think it's it's dangerous because I always say, listen to your body. There were days when I was doing my marathon training and whatnot where had I not listened to my body, I probably wouldn't have been able to keep training because I would have overextended myself. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's important, whether it's your body, whether it's your mind, there's days when you need to take a step back, take a break, and then pick it up tomorrow, but not having that breathing room outside of that, not everything's non-negotiable. I think it's very, very important
Mm-hmm.
to keep that in mind. So,
Yeah, it's real time, right? You have to check in with yourself mentally and physically and be like, okay, like this is what I typically do this day, but can I physically and mentally do it and get the most out of it? And so, yeah, I think definitely for exercising, I mean, if you're in pain and you're burned out, you got to take a day off or 2 days off. And I think it goes the same thing when you're working because you've hit this. Everyone has hit it. Luke has definitely hit it in the past, where you go past your threshold, and it's very hard to stop yourself. Right? I mean, everyone can resonate with that.
right.
When you're doing something that you love, and you're going, you're going, and then suddenly you kind of hit a threshold. Where you're like, I feel a little bit fucking weird now. Like I'm going too far, but I'm going to keep going because I
Right.
got this momentum and this client's waiting for me. They're waiting for an email and there's all these demands and it's important to draw that line and the power of saying no. I've gone too far. I'm not feeling good. I'm not going to push this even further and compound the issue. I need to stop this and take a break. And the more presence you have to how you're feeling and checking in with yourself, you're just going to improve your health and feel better. Burnout is real. We've talked about it many times on the show. Luke has openly talked about, passing out in a warehouse, right? He threw up and passed out. Luke is so passionate about what he does, right? And this, by the way, this is Luke Abbott uh, with V Driven, right? Wade is with as well. But if you can check in with yourself and stop yourself when you're going too far, that's really important because as an entrepreneur, it's very hard to stop yourself. But the one thing that I tell myself is that if I keep going today and I'm not feeling good, but I'm going to keep going to achieve this, how is this going to affect me tomorrow, the rest of this week, and possibly the rest of this year if I go too far and burn out?
Right.
And I went through that in December where I burned out so badly, just I worked so hard and had so many different jobs that it took, and I'm still recovering to be honest, but I'm way better today. But it took 3 months to recover.
Hmm.
And even though I accomplished a lot in October, November, December, and part of last year, 2024, the repercussions of that were enormous. The magnitude of the burnout was enormous, and I lost a ton of productivity for 3 months. Plus, I just wasn't happy mentally or physically. So just know that what you do today has effects, whether it's positive or negative, it will affect you in the future. So put that through your mind every time.
Right, right. I agree. I agree. And I think, I want to get to Luke's question here, here in a minute. The only thing that I would add on to what you just said is simply that, you talked about the impact it has on yourself, but you didn't mention the impact it has on those around you. In your case,
Mm-hmm.
your family, your growing family, your 3 years ago it was just you and your wife. Now it's your wife and son. And
Yes.
so, and that burnout, you're thinking about the impact it has on you, but you might be, not cognizant or thinking about beyond yourself. It's those around you, whether it's friends, family, spouse, whatever the case may be. So Luke's question was that I wanted to bring up. He says, have you guys figured, and a couple people in the audience have already answered this, but have you guys figured out your core values? And I missed the second because we have so many comments coming in. Have you figured out your core values? And what's the second part of it? Do you reflect on them?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I mean, I can jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's there. It's with how busy, and I don't use this as an excuse, just as kind of the human condition. When we get busy, when we're every day, you work, you wake up, you work, you come home, you eat, you sleep. You hang out with your family at night, hang out with your family on the weekends to make up for lost time during the week. We seldom take this type of reflection out of in the day. We take this time to reflect on what our core values are. And so I like that he asked this because it forces me in a good way to pause and think about this because we know we're all moving so quickly. So I can honestly say that I have not fully figured out my core values. I can sit here and start talking about stuff about, how I'm going to live my life and, long-term goals and all that. But I feel like the ones that I'm confident with as far as core values are really two that I have thus far. Number one is to be very present to treat people well, and no matter what I'm going through. So if I feel upset, if someone wronged me from the past, don't carry that negative energy to the people that don't deserve that in the present, right? Or the loved ones around you, friends, colleagues, whoever, a grocery bagger in Vaughn's, right? Doesn't matter who, it could be anyone, anywhere. Be kind, be understanding, be empathetic, and stay emotionally balanced with people. And I think the second one is really to keep anger in check. I've had, and this is a lot of people don't know this about me. I did post about this a couple years back, but I've had anger issues in the past. And it's not like I have the anger issue where I explode and start yelling at people. It's more of an internal thing going on in the mind where you're basically drinking your own poison, right? When you get angry at someone else or an event or a situation, you're only really drinking your own poison. You're not going to affect anyone else except for your family, of course, and loved ones. So being very present to being aware of the anger, being aware so that it doesn't get out of hand, where I start acting irrationally or say something I would regret is very important to me. And that's a constant practice of being present to my own thoughts and emotions. And again, reiterating, just treat people well. And everyone is going through a battle, everyone is going through something. And even if someone is acting like a complete asshole, I still train myself to be kind and respectful because I know if they're being an asshole, it's not to me. They're just not in a good place. And by me responding to that with anger or me being an asshole to that person, it's two wrongs don't make a right. People need more love, people need more care, even if they're not in a good place, especially if they're not in a good place in their life. So anyway, with all the rambling, those are the two things that I'm sticking to right now. How about you, Wade?
Well, I think for me, I touched on it yesterday with the post about the deer, and with I made a conscious decision a long time ago after seeing a manager that I worked kind of appear technically slightly above me fly off the handle and react, just go crazy, right, on a utility person, a lower end employee from an hourly perspective. And I saw that, and then I also saw that same person come back 5 minutes later and apologize, but the damage was done. Right? What he could not take back his words, his actions, and what he did. And so for me, that dear, talking about, I related it to CPG and being fast moving and things like that. But just being a little bit more, being present, taking the time, collect my thoughts. I'm kind of a slow boil, right? And it takes me a while, but once I'm
Hmm.
up there, it takes a while to come back down. But
Hmm.
so I react that way. But I mean, as far as self reflection, I've shared this previously. That simply, excuse me, that I typically hold myself to pretty high standards. As far as professionally and to some extent personally, but professionally, and I kind of set goals in internal goals that I set time frames for myself to do self evaluations, and they're going to be tougher than any evaluation that a superior could ever give me because of those standards I've set. And so I've done that everywhere I've been. I'll continue to do that, and it's the only way for me to hold myself accountable for what I want to do.
Hmm.
And that's something, like I said, I've done literally since the beginning of time. And typically, it's I set a time frame. Whether it's a new role, whether it's a new position, I've added on additional responsibility. But sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's a year, sometimes it's 2 years. But I set that internal time clock, that internal evaluation. I do that evaluation, and sometimes in some cases it's I've made the decision to move on. I've done that several times. In some cases it's a sit down with someone to say, hey, let's talk about where I'm at and where I want to be and where I think I should be, and so on. So I think to me it's all about internal motivation, and that's just something that's worked very well for me throughout my career.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're you're very diligent in what you do and very aware, and it's good to hold yourself to a higher standard because you'll constantly improve and get better. And I would just flip it back to how I handle when, looking at, hey, I want to be performing at a higher level. I want to be my best. I'm very competitive. I'm very, very competitive, and you probably gotten that from me from knowing me for
Mm.
4 years now. Is I want to be the best or nearly the best at what I pursue, right? Whether it's podcasting, whether it's personally, being the best dad to my son, being the best husband, at least like spending time with my family more, which again, ebbs and flows. Sometimes I'm not home, other times I am home. So being competitive is huge for me, golf, whatever it is, business, closing a deal, selling. But at the same time, you can't be incredibly hard on yourself
Right.
if you fall short, and we fall short a lot. I mean, what does it take to get into the Hall of Fame, right? What batting average?
Typically 300,
Yeah,
3 out
it's
of
like
10,
300,
3 out of 10,
350.
333. Yep.
Yeah, so like, it's a great analogy. I love baseball analogies where you only really need to hit the ball and get on base 3 to 3.5 times out of 10 times. You're going to strike out or fly out or ground out or whatever it is the other times. So a lot of people are hard on themselves, and it comes through where it's not a good energy, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
Like if you're with someone that they're always hard on themselves and they're criticizing themselves, they're only going to bring more negative energy to themselves, and the people around don't want to spend time with them. So it's good to be competitive. It's good to be, aim to be the best or at least a higher level. But don't be too hard on yourself if you fall short. The important thing is if you do fall short, what did you learn from that for next time to be better, right?
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we've got a lot of comments here. I don't know. Excuse me. I keep having this nagging, consistent cough that I brought back from Europe. It just hasn't gone away. I feel great, but it's just annoying. But lots of people here. We've got Luke, we've got Kenny, we've got Jeff, we've got Hank, we've got who am I missing here? We've got Joseph just chimed in.
Hmm.
I think we had Lori in here earlier. Hugh, um, thanks for joining us this holiday weekend going into Memorial Day weekend. If there's something you'd like us to talk about, put it in the chat,
Yep.
and we'll happily touch on it. Right now, we're just kind of doing what we said we were going to do, which is rambling. But Kenny just said, "I what he's my own worst enemy, but over the past 6 months, I've overcome that through inner work and therapy." Alex, you're spot on here.
Awesome. I appreciate that, buddy. Thanks, Kenny. You're the man. Sending a lot of love to you. And yeah, no, I mean, and that's a thing that I've been scheduling, right? I can't sit here and say I've been through therapy in the last couple of years, but I'm definitely scheduling it, and it's something I'm going to start in the summer. And the connotation on therapy in the past, whatever it was, oh, you have to be something wrong with you. This is 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. Therapy has now been embraced as something that is incredibly helpful. Midday Squares talks about it all the time to have an outside perspective on what's going on in your head. You talk it out, you let people know, and or a therapist know, and then they will reflect it back to you so you're aware of what thoughts are going through your mind on a day-to-day basis. So it all comes back to self-awareness. And I think one thing I'll commend you on, Wade, is that you've always been really open to new opportunities, and you're just open-minded in general. And that's what I love about you. Beyond that, you're a kind person, a loving person, a great family man, great businessman, all these things, amazing amount of experience. When people talk with you, very relaxed, you're very open-minded, you're a great listener, and you have a lot of qualities that make you such a great friend. And also, that's why people love working with you as well. So I just wanted to point that out to you.
Well, I appreciate it, and you know that the feeling's mutual. But you know, it's interesting. Before we went on the air, I was texting, and hopefully, I'm not divulging anything that is secretive. But I was texting with Kenny, and you know, giving him the example. You know, talk about new opportunities and things like that, and just talking in general. One of the catalysts for me starting my journey over the last, you know, call it what, at this point it's been 6+ years. You know, up until then I had a 20-year career with Bueller's in Ohio. Well talked about it. You know, my you know, going from the restaurant business to the grocery business and moving my way up, and essentially plateaued. I got as far as, and I joke about it now, you know, that, you know, I was reporting to our president and CEO, and I had the title of senior director. And essentially, I came to the realization after doing some of this self-evaluation that I'd gone as far as I can go. I was reporting to the president, CEO. My title was senior director. I say often, and I'll continue to say, titles mean nothing. You know, it's more about the person, the job they're doing. But anyways, that's a whole nother topic. I joke about now and say, you know, I came to the realization that if I wanted to move up in the company, I was going to have to marry his daughter, and I don't think Renee would have liked that very well. So I came to that, you know, realization. I did my self evaluation, and I started looking and listening to opportunities. The kids had gotten to the point in their lives where they had flew the coop or were close to flying the coop in college and graduating. And so the opportunity presented itself to Louisiana. You know, you can look at that title, and I made a post about this. You know, my career path and title path has bounced over the place. I've taken steps backwards. I've gone, going from a quote unquote senior director to back down in title to a category manager. To some extent, it was humbling, but in order for me to progress, I had to take a step back, and then I became a director again, and so on and so forth. But I think it's to your point, listening to and having an open mind to opportunities, and regardless of title, but looking more about what's in front of you, and being, you know, fortunately for me, I've had the luxury the last several years of being able to listen to and accept opportunities, and not completely being motivated strictly by money, which I think so many times that's what people listen to. And I had this conversation with someone else earlier this week with regards to opportunities and money, and how you present it, right? As far as how you package it and present it, that you know, if you're talking to people and money's the sole motivating factor, oftentimes you're not going to get good results, you know, because that's just the way it is. But if you can look at the opportunity at hand, the work environment, it might be remote, it might be a small tight team or something like that, but there's more things to look at. And the more you can have those conversations, and you as the person on that receiving end are looking at the opportunity, you're not simply seeing dollar signs in front of you today now, but rather how you can learn, how you can grow. And for me, you know, with where I'm at now, I think it's a perfect example of what motivates me day in and day out. Is I learn something new every day, you know, and I continue to. And this week is a fantastic example of just that. You know, I've helped on the sales side, I've helped on the brand management side, I've helped on the business development side, I've helped on the HR side. Yesterday, Luke and I had an amazing masterclass. I mean, I'm just the host with the pretty face. Luke is the guy doing the presenting, but I've just had a full, well-rounded plate of greatness this week, and learned, and it's just been tremendous. And I think if there's one thing I can encourage everyone to do is to have that outlook that, whether it's a title, and Kenny's talking a little bit about this here, whether it's a title or what have you, keep an open mind to what you can get from what you're experiencing. And it might not always be money. It might be a learning opportunity or a way to expand outside of money. And it's important. And I don't know if you have any experience or thoughts about that, but that's been my perspective. So
Yeah, no, spot on, Wade. That's a great share. Before going into what I have to say about it, Kenny, there's a comment here from Kenny Hausman. I say, do your job and the opportunities will come. Titles mean nothing. Take advantage of what you learn in each role you assume and play. And I think, like, I say it and I actually, it's funny, I'm smelling barbecues already for Memorial Day weekend. It's coming through the window. People are starting early. Is be almost like childlike in a way, just excited to explore, excited to learn, because every adult, there's still a child, right? And that's going to be there until the day you die, right? Because most of our formative years of growth and learning and our habits and how we interact and how we are in our life is learned in the first 3 years of our life, right? When we're growing up, we're being raised. So don't lose that. Don't lose the fact that, that curiosity. And I met an owner yesterday. We sell some items, including fuel free, into a chain of 9 gas stations. And I delivered to all the gas stations. And they started with like 6. They're going to roll to 3 more because they're being built right now. So, and I just went into this gas station, and in the middle of Azusa, Hacienda Heights, like areas way outside of, where I live. And I noticed how nice the gas station is. It looks like a Vegas gas station, right? Like near the strip, like really
Right.
nice, really big, well lit. And also the people are extremely nice people that say hello to you when you enter through the door. It feels like you're walking into a Jimbo's. It feels like you're walking into a natural store almost. And yesterday I went to pick up the checks from them. And there was a guy I've never met before, guy in his 60s, flipping through the checks, and he was I believe, Syrian. And he gave me the checks and he smiled and he introduced himself, and he was the owner. Never met him before. And he just seems so happy. He's, there's stress. There's always stress, but he seems so happy, and he was so present with me, shook my hand. He thanked me. He thanked me for the products. He thanked me for the great service. And he really acknowledged me. And he took the time to talk with me for 15, 20 minutes in the parking lot before he left. But he had that feeling of curiosity, that feeling of excitement, the feeling of enjoying his job and enjoying what he's doing. And he was talking about the new gas stations that he's building. And he's like, I'm a developer. He talked about 2 blocks that he owned in Covina, right? West Covina. So I like these types of people because they're successful, yet they're incredibly humble. They don't live their life by money, even though they make a lot of money. They live it by being kind and loving and very nice to people around them, which lifts everyone up, right? And lifts the employees up. And on top of that, when you're kind to people and you take care of people, inevitably you make more money, right?
Right.
So I think, like, that's the order of operations there. But going back to, what's happened in my life for the last 2 years, and actually let's go back 20 years, right? Not to make this a long story, is I've always worked for myself. I don't know if you knew that
Right.
about me.
Yep.
But out of college, I went into Aflac, and that's a 1090. I mean, I'm Mr. 1099. I'm 1099 Bear. That should be my new nickname. And it's my favorite numbers are 1099, right? And so I started at Aflac, and then I did a nonprofit, Karaoke for a Cure, for 2 years and raised a bunch of money there for children's hospitals. And then after that, I worked in an office job for 8 months, and I liked the people, but I didn't like the job. I was selling office stuff in Torrance. Great people, just didn't like the job, didn't like being a W-2. And so I went back after that and started Genius Juice in 2013, 14. And I became, even though I was an employee, I guess, of the company, I owned the company, right? And
Right.
so I was really making the decisions and determining my own destiny. And then after that ended in 2014, I started doing consulting. So I enjoy the consulting side. I enjoy picking who I can work with. And also, I learn a lot from my clients. And I love the relationship of consultant to client because there's this
Right.
great mutual respect where you trust each other. You're open to hearing each other out. There's no levels, there's no bosses. It's just really working together and collaborating to be successful in that project. And that's what fires me up. And that's what I love. So that's like my kind of my attitude on how I work and how I learn. And then also never, and one thing that my mentor told me at Aflac, my very first day at Aflac, I never forgot this. He was one of my, like the best coach that mentor I've ever had in as far as sales. He said, "You're either green or growing or ripe and rotting." I love that quote.
Yeah, I love that too. I love that too. And the whole 1099 concept is interesting because for someone such as myself, that for aside from my rest, and maybe that's it, maybe it's PTSD. I've talked about this a little bit. The reason why a lot of people ask why I didn't go off on my own after the fresh market and just do my own thing. And I think back. Well, first of all, Luke's listening, so I'm going to say it, but I mean it. He knows I do that. The opportunity with Luke, from a personal, professional standpoint, was just too good to pass up on. But beyond that, having been my own boss and signing my own paycheck, and I did so at a very young age, right? For me, it was, I was a restaurant owner at 22, 23, whatever that age was, and it didn't work out. And I've shared that it resulted in a personal bankruptcy. Ever since then, I've had a regular paycheck from someone else, and so there's a little bit of PTSD for me to be a 1099 or sign my own paycheck again. I've just kind of gravitated towards this is what I'm doing. I've done that before. I don't want to go back there. So it's interesting, the two different outlooks we have. You've done it and it's worked out well for you, and it's obviously something that you and I could be wrong about this, but you might have difficulty going into an environment where you were not your own boss, right? You have to, you've had this luxury, you've had this freedom to essentially create your own schedule and do what you want to do, so much though for so long, it might be hard for you to go into, let's say, a corporate environment or something like that, where it's like, oh, wait a second, you got to show up at this time, and here's the expectations, and that freedom that you're used to having just isn't there. Different worlds, different strokes. So yeah, it's very interesting. So I appreciate you, Luke. Thanks for the nice comment. How nice it would be to have a regular paycheck, Lori. Welcome to, she knows very well, being a founder, she knows very well. Yeah, I think that's going back to
a lot of challenges. Yeah, a lot of challenges. And Luke, just for in case you're listening after the fact, and it's on the recorded version of this, Luke Abbott said, "I'm glad you joined our cause." This is to Wade. Our whole team and our clients love you. So that's really sweet.
Coming up very quickly on the 1 year anniversary. Coming up very quickly.
Wow.
We've already surpassed my. It's been 1 year and a month, 1 year and 6 weeks, whatever it is, since leaving the fresh market. But I'm coming up real quickly on my 1 year anniversary with V Driven. So it's hard to believe it's only been a year, because we've done a lot, and we've got a lot we're going to do, and we are doing. So it's been a lot of fun. So
absolutely. Yeah. And it's rare to find a culture like V Driven too, not to
we're gonna turn this into an infomercial.
Yeah, it's going to be an infomercial. That's what I was going to try to say.
www.vdriven.com. Schedule a call. Hashtag work with Wade.
Hashtag work with. That's funny.
Yeah.
But in all, just from the heart, like just the quality of the people, the quality of the service, and the uniqueness of what Luke has set up for his clients, and also loving that you work with small to big. I feel like it's very, very hands-on, and it's just hard to find that. It's just hard to find that level, and also get a return on investment, right? So I think V Driven has excelled in all those areas, and again, the infomercial side, reach out.
Yeah,
V Driven.
Well, what I think for me, one of the things that we are truly babbling and talking about anything, but I think for me, coming out of the environment that I was in a corporate mentality, and having all these boards and different things to answer to, versus a tight knit essentially family, for what it is. It's a very small but tight, I say small and mighty group that we work with. We've got a tremendous offshore team that we don't talk a lot about, but
Mhm.
I'm going to be talking about in the future. I have the person that works with me the most, my assistant that I spend a lot of time with. She's absolutely amazing. And it's just, it really is. I mean, getting up in the morning, I tell people my first call that I have, my Zooms and all those, I joke about how often I'm on Zooms, but is with my offshore person and spending time with her and the interaction back and forth. It's just absolutely fabulous. I mean, just the collaboration that we do. It's just it's really refreshing, and I truly enjoy getting up every morning and having those conversations and going outside that corporate mentality. Getting back to one of the things I enjoyed most about my time at Jimbo's was that same feeling, is small group, very tight, uh,
Mhm.
basically a family. And we, being able to touch firsthand brands, brands that are just beginning, or being able to influence. In many cases, I couldn't bring them in based on their ingredients,
Mhm.
but just being able to have those conversations and give them some tips. And I could name several who, when I met them in California, were just getting started or had no retail presence, and looking at them where they are now. I had conversations with them, and looking back and being able to say, I remember when, and I talked to them then, and now I'm having that same, those same interactions with brands, and sometimes they hire, sometimes they don't, but it's been great just over the last year, helping the brands that are on our roster and having conversations with brands that, excuse me, aren't on our roster, but you still see growing in different ways. It's like, oh yeah, just that interaction is just really fulfilling.
Yeah, definitely, 100% agree with that. And I'm starting to see. I started to see a couple of brands that you're working with in larger retail stores. So I saw Whole Harmony
Whole Harmony
in
is a great one.
in
It's a great
Sprouts.
brand. Yep.
So I saw them launch. I love the packaging. The product tastes delicious. Has some
Amazing
really
product.
interesting functional ingredients in there you can't find in other juices. And then the other one that I saw the other day was the kava one. What is that?
Lalo.
Lalo?
Lalo.
Lalo.
Yep. Yep.
And so before I tried Lalo, I went to a kava bar.
Hmm.
Not to just to change the subject a little bit. I went to a kava bar in Santa Monica because the brand I work with, Feel Free, is kava root and kratom, but I've never had kava root on its own. And in like going to a kava bar, like they take the actual root, right? Not
Right.
the extract.
Right.
Most brands, especially bottled, they have to use the extract unless you're brewing it like in a, or mixing it a lot in a juice bar or a coffee bar, a kava bar. So
Right.
I went to the kava bar and I ordered, I'm like, what's your lowest sugar option for your kava drink? And they said, well, it's that one, but it tastes really bad. Like it's just pure kava. And I'm like, I can handle it. I do green juices and all this stuff. And they're like, are you sure you don't want like the coconut goodness one where we put coconut in there and a little coconut nectar and mix it in with the kava to cover it up? And I said, no, I'll try it as is. I just want a pure, like, first experience with kava. And it was a stressful day because I'm driving around. I was all over the place. And I said, I think I need this today. I need this. And I'm going to see how I never do relaxative stuff beyond maybe magnesium.
Mhm.
Obviously, I don't do like weed or anything like that. I don't drink alcohol. Like, I don't want to put that in my body as a way of relaxing. It's not
Mhm.
healthy.
Right.
So I got the kava and I brought it to the car. I had to wait 20 minutes for it to cool off just in my car. And I started drinking it and it was terrible, the taste.
Mm.
Like, it was so bad, I was having trouble drinking it. And I've drank some pretty gnarly stuff, fermented stuff, and green juices and things that will make your toes curl. And I finally was able to, and because it tasted so bad, I was easy sipping it. I was
Right.
nursing it, which is better. You want to nurse it. I also did a triple shot of kava.
Ugh.
I did a triple shot, so it was really strong.
You're compounding crap, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But the effect of it was, again, I wouldn't have it like every day, but if you're like in a really stressful day or something happened, you need to come down, I really recommend kava. I had no side effects. I wasn't drowsy after. And when I drank it, I had a nice calming, euphoric effect, but I could still function. I could still talk. I could still drive. I could still conduct business. I didn't sound like I was drunk. I really, really enjoyed the kava. Now, one thing I will mention, just going back to to that story with the really nice CEO. I initially connected with the company, this gas station chain, through one of the locations. So I went to the location, and this very nice clerk said, "Well, you have to talk to the office if you want us to bring this in. We can't do it at this level."
Right. Right.
And I said, "Okay, where's the office?" Like, "Well, it's there, but then the person's hard to catch." And he's like, "You know what? I'm just going to give her a call because I really like what you're offering, and I think you're really a great person. So I'm going to give him a call." He called the person at the purchasing manager. She answered. I talked to her on his phone, and that's what led up to the entire deal closing, right?
Hmm.
And so what I decided to do is, after I delivered to all the stores, I left his store for last. His store for last. And I went in there and I walked up to him and I just said, "I want to thank you first and foremost. I'm here to deliver, but this deal happened because of you. You
Hmm.
connected me. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for what you have done." I shook his hand and I'm like, "Here's, some free product. This is for you. Take it." I paid for it obviously out of my pocket when I gave him the free product. And the look on his face was honestly shock, because most people don't go out of their way to thank others.
Right.
And so one thing that I've learned, and I really try to do this also personally, because it's not just business, it's personal too. People in your lives, calling them to say, "Hey, I love you. Hey, thank you for what you're doing for me. Thank you for helping me." If you go out of your way to actually help people and actually thank them, they are going to it's something that they're not used to when you
Right.
do that. And so I would recommend, if you have someone in your life that has done something monumental for you and really helped you get to where you are today, take time out of your day, call them and thank them out of the blue. It goes a long way.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Well, I want to go back to Kava's thing just for a minute because you talked about it, and we had a question I want to get to and a comment. But yeah, our brand Lalo. If have you tried it or no?
Lalo, yes, I have
Yeah,
tried it.
so it's kava, kava, ready to drink, and it tastes really, really good. So, your experience with crap and tasting, you don't have to worry about that with Lalo because it tastes
Yeah.
delicious, available readily, and expanding as by the day, growing leaps and bounds. Hank's question was which kava bar, Alex, that you went
It
to?
was it's in Santa Monica, and it's off Olympic Boulevard, right near actually the police station
Yeah,
in Santa Monica. And it's called Kavana. It's called Kavana. It's right off. It's Main Street, and then you take a right off on Olympic, I believe, and it's right there.
nice. And of course, Hank would be a terrible salesperson if he didn't tell you to try a berry with the kava. Then it would have tasted great.
That's true.
So
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
I need to
So
do that next.
yeah, you should have done
Hank, I
that.
need more. I'm fresh out of Nature's Wild Berry. So,
You should have done that. Excellent.
hey, and
Excellent.
also he mentioned New Brew. That's another one that I'm seeing in stores, which is
I don't know if I'm familiar
it's
with that one.
really more on the West Coast. It's West Coast and also New York. They're just dominating the metro areas on the coast. But it's a Cava Kratom, so it's not Cava like Lalo. Kratom can be somewhat controversial, and it's very strong, and there's a different effect to it that not everyone likes. But
I'm
people
looking at
that
it
like
now.
it, they love it.
It's an
But
herbal supplement marketed as a euphoric seltzer.
euphoric seltzer,
Hmm.
and people that drink Feel Free in the shot form love New Brew, and New Brew is in the seltzer form. So it tastes really good. There's guava and berry. And I mean, Kava and Kratom are very strong the way they
Right.
taste. So you
Right.
have to, like you said with Lalo, they did a great job formulating this product and making something functional also taste really good.
Really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Where
Absolutely.
where are they now? Where's Lalo? Like, what's
Oh
their
my.
big milestone?
I'm just Sprouts. We're in Sprouts. So they've done very, very good there.
That's where I
And
bought it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's readily available there, and more
In
to
the
come.
innovation set. That's
I
where I saw
believe
it.
we graduated.
Oh, you graduated.
I believe we've graduated out of that.
Oh,
But yeah,
nice.
if
Okay.
and yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned for more. I see Waleed's joined us.
Yeah. What's
Always
up,
good.
Waleed?
Always good to see him. Um, I know where that is. Nice. So Hank knows where your kava store is, or
Oh
your kava
yeah. He
bar.
knows
Kava
all the
bar.
spots. Yeah,
Yeah.
He's an LA guy, just like me.
Excellent.
I could tell him an intersection, and he'll know what's in that intersection, what store.
Wow.
So Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're getting ready, close to closing time here, and we haven't talked. We used to do this all the time. We haven't done it in a long time. Talk about what we're doing this weekend since it's a holiday weekend. I think it's appropriate to have that conversation. What do you have going on this weekend?
Well, tomorrow's golf, so I'm going with a great person that I actually met through the industry. His name is Sebastian Dreyer. I don't know if he wants me
Mm.
mentioning his name, but he plays some golf and he's posted publicly, so I'm not telling people anything people don't know about him. And he is, um, I think he's like the head of U.S. Ventures. That's not his official title, but he's head of U.S. Ventures for Doler Ventures, and they're an ingredient company, and they also do early stage investments. So if you have a product, I think they're more selective now. Like you got to be over $1 million in annualized revenue. But Doler Ventures, Dohler Ventures, look up Sebastian. And, if you have a great product and you think you need to raise money, and you can maybe get bend his ear on that one. So that's Saturday. That's tomorrow. And then Sunday, just hanging out with family, not doing too much. And then Monday is exactly the same thing. That's about it. Just laying low, enjoying our time, and relaxing. How about you?
Nice. We haven't really talked about specifically yet, but as I said, looking at the forecast, the weather looks good this weekend. And I think more than likely we are going to be making a stop at least once, if not a couple times, to there's a local event this weekend every year. It's called Gears and Guitars.
Oh, cool.
It's in Winston-Salem, and it's a cycling event. And if you've never got to witness a cycling event in person, and they're racing through the streets of Winston-Salem, so they have a little area set up where they have music all weekend. And pretty big. This year, the bands aren't quite as big as they were last year. Last year, they had, I believe they had Soul Asylum among other bands last year. But this year, I think the headliner tonight, I believe, is Old 97s, who are popular, but maybe not quite as big.
Old
And then
97s.
Old
Sounds
97s.
familiar.
And tomorrow, the headliner is Switchfoot, which, again, it's not an arena or a stadium band, but it's a pretty popular band. But they have a Greenway ride, a 42-mile ride, a 69-mile ride. There's just a lot going on. These guys, like I said, if you haven't got to witness, you've seen it's not Lance Armstrong style, but it's racing through the streets of Winston in loops, and it's fascinating to watch, and just kind of check stuff out. So that's probably what we're going to get into, more than likely.
Awesome. Yeah, I no surprise here that you're going to a kind of a festival. You're seeing bands. That's your thing. You and Renee.
Exactly.
The old 97s have been around for a long time, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
it's and what's the beauty about all that is it's free. I mean, it's a free event for the music, for everything. So it's really geared towards family, and you can walk around, and you don't have to have tickets. You can just come and go. It's
awesome.
Really, really cool.
Where's it being held again?
Downtown Winston-Salem.
Oh, that's cool.
Downtown Winston-Salem. So yeah, and with the weather cooperating, it should be a great event with a nice turnout. So last weekend, I shared a post. We drove over to outside of Lexington, Virginia, called Natural Bridge, and I had a post up about that. You can see this natural bridge, which is carved, in the side of essentially a mountain over literally millions of years. It's just amazing to look at. But we camped in the Tesla. I don't know if I've shared that with you, but we actually bought a mattress that's custom fit for inside the Tesla.
Oh, nice.
The seats fold down and it has the camping mode, so you can regulate the temperature. This time of year, we're doing air. When it was a little colder outside, you keeping the temperature warm. But it's a awesome, efficient way to camp. Just pull into KOA or somewhere, pay for that spot. You can have your fire, have the camp seat, the camping chairs out there, and just hang out there. And then when you're ready to go to bed, you just climb inside the Tesla, set the camping mode, and it's an awesome way to do it. And it was about 2.5 hours or so away from us. We did that last weekend. So
very cool. It's glamping, glorified glamping for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
you're still outside.
I was going to say I've done the glamping thing before, which is probably a level above this because let's be honest, you are sleeping in the back of a car, but you do have the temperature control. Yeah,
you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
It's a Tesla, and you have the Model Y, right?
Yeah.
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 One thing I just want to go back to because it was kind of like in my mind when you mentioned the old 97s and I recognized the band. It's actually in the movie, The Breakup with Jennifer Aniston and Vince
Okay.
Vaughn.
Okay.
It's like I'm like, where did I hear that name? And so in
Yeah.
the in the live scene where Jennifer Aniston, you've seen the movie, right?
Yeah. 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 It's been a while, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So where Jennifer Aniston goes to the concert, and then she's going to meet Vince Vaughn there. Vince Vaughn stands her up, and that's what kind of led to the end of their relationship. Right, it just pushed her too far. The old 97s were the ones that were
Mhm.
playing during
And
that
it's
scene.
a
They're
reasonably.
a good band.
I was gonna say they are a good band, and again be able to see a band of that caliber or that name value, like last year with Soul
Free,
Asylum, who I grew up with, Free. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that they do that. So yeah, excited about that. But
sweet.
I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong, unless you have something up your sleeve. We actually don't have a prize today.
We do not. No, when it's random babble, there is really no prize. I mean, the prize is that you tuned in and got to hear us talk about anything and everything for an hour.
Right.
So I think
Right.
that's good. I
Well,
think
but
that's good
that's
enough for everyone.
it is a good segue, though, that we could use some sponsors. If you have a prize to give away or would like to sponsor the show, email the show at cpgvibes100@gmail.com. That's cpgvibes, plural, 100@gmail.com. And we'll talk to you about how you can get that arranged. But certainly look forward to having some sponsors lined up to give some prizes away like we usually do. But yeah, I think that's about it.
Absolutely. So next week we're gonna have a special topic. So we'll get into that. We'll announce that on Monday. That will be May 30th, and then June 6th. June 6th is the Master Series. We're expecting it to be most likely one of the biggest, if not the biggest episode of the year. It's on 6/6, memorable date. We're going to have Chris Hunter, Mike Fata, Jake Carls. We were going to have another individual, but he had a conflict come up, so we're going to fill a fourth spot. But yeah, Chris Hunter with Koya, Mike Fata, who everyone knows, Manitoba Harvest founder, who now invests in Canadian and American brands, and Jake Carls, who everyone really knows with Midday Squares, the co-founder. So that's going to be a
Oh,
cool episode on 6/6. But then next week will be us.
well, hold on a second. Luke just complicated or actually
What did he say?
offered something. He's offering Lalo.
Oh,
He's offering Lalo.
can I win? Please. Yeah.
So do you have a question, Alex?
Wow. Okay. I
And
wasn't prepared
I'm
for
guessing
that.
this is going to be a 6-pack or a 12-pack or something. But
Yeah. Yeah.
regardless of what it is, it's free. It's Lalo. It's a brand that V Driven works with, and as we mentioned, it's Kava. So if that's not your jam, this probably is not your entry. You probably want to
Right.
hold off on this one. So again, it is Kava. It's Kava based drink, but I assure you, it is delicious. Do you have a question?
I mean, it's the easiest question of all time.
That's okay. That's okay. We're on time.
Easiest of all time.
We're on overtime now, so
Okay.
I don't want to have to bill time and a half for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's
We
go
can,
easy.
we can't afford that.
Because I think we started to. Joseph is asking what Lalo is, and I know there's a little bit of delay here. It's the beverage we were talking about earlier. That's that my company V Driven, Luke's company, works with. It's a beverage that has kava in it. Ready to drink, and it's tastes very, very good and is growing leaps and bounds. So what's your easy question, Alex?
Okay. This is, I think, the easiest one of all time. What kind of bar did I go to
Oh
for
my.
the drink that I had that I enjoyed? What kind of bar?
There's the website. It is Leilo, Leilo.com.
Yeah, it's a cool name. I like the name a lot. What does the name mean?
What does the name mean?
Or maybe there's no meaning and it's just catchy, like Koya
Um,
or any others.
that's a good question.
Lay low, lay low, right? Like you're relaxed.
And that could very well be.
That could be it.
Very well be. That could very well be. Yeah.
Makes
We're
perfect
waiting.
sense.
Yeah, we're waiting for that answer. It's a great story though of Sol, the founder, traveled to Fiji and was introduced to the traditional kava ceremony. And so that's how the long story short, go to the website and see it. But that's how the brand came to be. Is he tried kava while he was in Fiji on a vacation, befriended a local, invited him to this ceremony, and just became really entrenched with the ceremony and the relaxation, the socialness, and just the ritual of it. And the rest is history. So so Jeff won.
Yep.
And yeah, that's great. So Jeff, email CPG Vibes 100. We'll put in touch with Mr. Luke, who has decided that to donate this prize. So we're thankful for that, Luke. And yeah, that should be good stuff.
Cool. Hank, you were late to the answer. So I was thinking Hank would answer it because he's big on kava.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to go to Sprouts and buy it, Hank.
Yeah, there you go. So available nationwide at Sprouts. Lalo. Good stuff. And then also make sure to give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Go to Apple Podcast or Spotify. Scroll down. Give us 5 stars if you haven't already. Takes literally about 10 seconds to do it. 10 seconds. So make sure to please help us.
Now Jeff is giving the prize to Hank. So we have Luke giving us the prize, and Jeff is giving it to Hank. So
look at that love in the room.
All right, Hank, I guess you're emailing cpgvibes100@gmail.com. So
okay.
Lots of love. Lots of giving today.
Yeah, and with the Lalo, you don't have to have Nature's Wild Berry because it already tastes
delicious.
Good on its own.
Delicious.
There you go. That's a good plug right there.
There you go.
All right, everyone. Well, this has been a lot of fun. This has been Random Babble Series Volume 2. Wade, always a fun time talking and conversating and sharing. So thanks for being a great co-host, and thank you everyone for tuning in. And we will see you all next week, same place, same time, Friday, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock Eastern. Take care,
Have a good
everyone.
weekend.